Hello everyone, it's Tommy with Studio Sense, and that's right, you guessed it, it's time for another top 10 list. Actually, this isn't a top 10 list, however, this is just 10 spring and summer fragrances that I think everybody who's serious about their fragrances, which is all you guys out there watching me right now, I know that you are, should actually have in their rotation. These are fragrances that have been around for a while. These are all going to be relatively economical, easy gets, dumb reaches, easy finds, all those phrases you want to use can apply to all of these. And since spring weather is on its way, summertime weather is on its way, we're buffering ourselves, we're building up until we finally get to that spring and summer weather. You might as well dust off those fragrances and get them ready. These guys I'm really looking forward to getting back into my rotation, and I think you will too. Let's get into this list. We've got a lot to cover. Stay tuned, coming up next. Besides our weatherman telling us and actually going outside and feeling the difference in the weather, the difference in temperature, how can you tell that spring and summer is here? Well, I'll tell you, there's one way you can do it if you live near or drive by a playground. There's always some old dude in the playground getting kind of creepy.
Here's Johnny.
Paint me like one of your French girls, Jeff. It's like those garden gnomes. When you see them suddenly appearing in uncanny areas, you know it's springtime. It really is hard sometimes to choose from a number of fragrances that you might have, or when a number of fragrances that you see other people using. There's so many options out there, and that's what lists are for. A lot of people see, oh, not another fragrance list, and they start groaning, but I like them. When I first started getting into collecting fragrances, I really appreciated lists because it helped me to see A, what other people have out there, B, it helps me determine something that's not necessarily going to be a blind buy, right? If I get somebody whose opinion I start to appreciate and kind of develop a video rapport with them, as it were, see that, you know, their opinions have counted for me in the past, then you get to know, and hopefully you can start feeling that way about me. Our very first one actually has the word aqua in it. It is Aqua Essencial Blue by Salvatore Ferragamo. Now this has a little bit in common with Bleu de Chanel. A lot of people say it smells just like Bleu de Chanel. It really doesn't. It is akin on the dry down to Bleu de Chanel, but this is a very, very fresh, very clean, very bright summertime, spring and summertime fragrance. And another commonality in a lot of these, you're going to notice they're going to be blue. So a lot of these fragrances are in the blue fragrance category just because they are ozonic or aquatic and fit perfectly in that realm of fresh starts, new beginnings, water, beach, sand, summertime. Features cardamom, amber, lavender, bergamot, lemon, cedar, cypriol oil. So a lot of great notes, and this just makes you feel really good, really fresh. It is not necessarily something you'd want to wear with a suit and tie, so it's very versatile, but more on the casual side. To be found pretty much everywhere, retailers, and of course online discounters at really inexpensive. Great spring and summer fragrance. Up next, this is one that I recently featured in a mini haul of mine. That is Vince Camuto's Homme. Now this guy right here I've been wearing a lot lately. I'm wearing it right now, wore it today, I've worn it for the past week. I really like this. This to me is an underrated gem. It's got such a great green scent profile and green bright presence. In fact, one of my honorable mentions, and that you're supposed to do at the end of the video, I'm just going to use as an example now, and that is Lucky You. The reason I like Lucky You is because it is an extremely green, it is a grass-based fragrance, very green, but it sits too close to the skin to make my list. But it is super inexpensive. But if you do like green, this guy right here, Lucky You, great fragrance. Sits too close to the skin. This has really good projection, really good longevity, around average to a little bit better than average longevity. Projection isn't as good as what I'd want it to be. It is great for the first hour, and then it starts dying down in the mid, and that dry down, you get a really nice dry down with this, but again, it doesn't last super long. It does contain notes such as lemon, ozonic notes, lavender. It has gin in it. You don't really get a boozy feel out of it, but the gin contributes to that, like that bright, effervescent feel. It also has ginger that does that, so the gin and the ginger both do that really well for this. It lifts this up and creates a very bright, light, fresh. To me, there's not a better after shower fragrance than Vince Camuto's Homme. That's why I think it's an underrated gem. Next up in the list is one of my favorite houses of all time, and that is Hugo Boss with Boss Bottled United. It is a really neat, sophisticated looking bottle with the chrome, but the smell is very reminiscent of it's really hard for me. I almost didn't include this in the list because of its similarity to an honorable mention that I will go ahead and bring out, since I went in and busted that the idea of doing it at the end, and that is Paco Rabanne's Invictus. So the scent profile is similar to this because of the bergamot, that bright bergamot and that bright bubblegum vibe. But both of these have a very youthful, very spirited vibe to them, and as such it does lend itself to being a great, bright spring and summer fragrance, because nothing screams activity better than a sweet, citrusy, juicy, because this is extremely juice. This is like the juicy fruit of fragrances. Fragrance than the bergamot top. Now this is heat activated, so you're going to get a little bit more longevity. This is around the 5 to 6 hour longevity, but you're going to get about 2 more hours of that if you're doing anything where you're generating body heat that will naturally cause this to roll off of you and create a little bit better projection, a sillage trail specifically. But I really get good longevity and good projection out of this, around average, I would say. And as all Hugo Boss's fragrances do, they keep themselves at a decent economy to where every man can get them. You don't have to bust the bank or start saving some of your paycheck to save up for it. You can get them right now relatively inexpensively, primarily at online discounters. What's different about this, it does have ozonic notes. It's got that blood orange in there. You do pick up on that blood orange in the beginning, the top of this, and a little bit into the mid. It does start drying off and giving way for some of the woods, which are, you've got some melon, vetiver, amber, coumarin, and patchouli. So you get that mass appealing feel out of this. You do get compliments. It will pull a lot of compliments, but it is a perfect after shower smell in all the right ways. Our next fragrance is a very well-known fragrance. It's only been out for 3 years, but for somehow it feels like a classic, and that is Coach. Coach is the perfect juxtaposition between business and pleasure. You know, you ever been traveling and the person behind the counter when you're checking in the hotels, like, are you here for business or pleasure? Well, with Coach, you can say a little bit of both, because this lends itself to sophistication of dressing up to go out for dinner, a night on the town with dinner, friends and family, to also kicking back and being super casual and, you know, watching Hulu or Netflix or Amazon Prime. The really neat thing about this is it's got a lot of fruits in this. You've got citruses, you've got kumquat, you've got nashi pear, you've got cardamom, you've got bergamot, kumquat. So you got a really nice bright citrus profile. Coriander, geranium, amber, and suede. Remember the actor James Franco? That guy is so versatile in what he does. He's been a villain, he's been the hero, and that's why he was perfect for the marketing campaign, the ad campaign for this, because this is very similar. This is extremely versatile, and it doesn't matter what situation you find yourself in. Oh man, it smells so good. I love the fact that this is so masculine and alluring, and there's something self-actuating about this. Now, there's a lot of fragrances out there that people say are similar. It is similar to Jimmy Choo Man, Bulgari Aqua Atlantique, but the thing about this is Coach and Coach Platinum are better than all those, in my estimation. And it's relatively inexpensive, so if you don't have Coach, highly recommend it. There's the versatility of this is it can be worn year round. I kind of put it away for wintertime because it does have that bright, energetic, effervescent feel of spring and summer. So I can't wait to bust this out and start using it again. This is easily a signature scent, and you will find that out once you wear Coach. Next up is a beautiful bottle presentation, as well as an incredibly wonderful, light, airy, aromatic, and somewhat herbal fragrance, and that is John Varvatos Artisan Pure. Artisan Pure is such a wonderful spring and summer fragrance. At first, when you smell this, you're going to start thinking kind of somewhat barbershop feel to it, because it does have somewhat of a pungent herbal essence. Just said a name of a shampoo. But once that wears off, meaning once you spray it on and it starts drying down a little bit, you can start picking apart the complexity of the notes, and then you just have this really sophisticated, manly, masculine, bright afternoon, sunny afternoon in a garden type feel and sensation. And that's what this reminds me of. It is a very luxurious, very sophisticated fragrance, right? It is a mature man's fragrance. It's not erring on the side of youthful like a lot of these fragrances are. It is not aquatic. It's more, it can be, considered aquatic. It is more ozonic than anything and more earthy. This puts me in the mind of older archaeology, pottery shards, things that have a rich heritage and a rich background. It has to do with the sophistication of communication and civilization. This is John Varvatos Artisan Pure. It does have lemon, bergamot, clementine, mandarin, which is a version of mandarin. It's this version of orange. Clementine is thyme. It's got a lot of spices and herbs in it that give it that somewhat Mediterranean feel and vibe. Ginger, woods, amber, and musk. And as ginger is in all of these fragrances, that's what causes it to sit up a little bit more on the skin. So you do get really good projection with this. Really good projection. It does not come off as very synthetic at all. It's just got a very nice herbal, floral, garden, rich heritage. Keep going back to that word, heritage scent profile to it. Great spring and summertime fragrance. Next up in the list is just one of my all-time favorites, and that is L'Homme Ideal Cologne by Guerlain. I really, really like this guy. This is an almond wonder because it has a note of almond in it, and it's very clearly picked out. Like as soon as you smell this, you smell almond. It's so good. It's kind of a grapefruity. It's got an almond note in it. It is discontinued, but you can still find it pretty much everywhere. You can get it online. I got this at TJ Maxx, so pretty much any retailer that you go to is going to be carrying this, or at least they used to. Probably be best to get it online now if you can't find it at your local retailer. It's got a great synergy of citruses. You got vetiver. It's kind of rare that you get a fragrance that has kind of a nutty vibe or sensation to it, and that's what I really like about this. Now, this is kind of it's a galvanizing fragrance because in the community, people either love it or hate it. And maybe you're going to be one that's going to hate it, so definitely try it out first. But I would unabashedly recommend this even as a blind buy because it's super inexpensive, and what you're getting from Guerlain is a really high quality fragrance. You can be pretty effusive with this in terms of spraying. It sits pretty close to the skin after the second hour that this is on. So the challenge of this is in the projection. It does give really good longevity, good to average longevity. The challenge is in the projection because it tends to be a little bit more subdued and a little bit soft, but still one of my favorite spring and summer fragrances. Next up is another youthful, spirited vibe, and that is Mont Blanc Legend Spirit. Now, I've already talked about this being very, very similar to Paco Rabanne's Invictus and very, very similar to Hugo Boss United, but it stands on its own. In fact, this one probably has a little bit more of the bubblegum, a little bit more of the sweet, a little higher quality bergamot than does the Hugo Boss, and it sets itself apart from the Invictus vibe. Invictus is such a common, mass-appealing fragrance that everyone smelled it. This is going to be a little bit different, owing to the fact that it does project itself quite a bit better, I believe, on the skin, and I get really good to better than average longevity out of this. And this bottle just seems to last and last. Mont Blanc has a very, very good track record for quality, and this is no exception. It is relatively inexpensive, even though it is very popular. Legend Spirit is aptly named because it's very fresh, energetic, somewhat shower gel, right, clean right out of the shower, feeling like this is what you spray on right before you go to the beach, or right after getting out of the beach and you shower off and get all that sand off of you. Spray this on. This says we're gonna go somewhere fun right after we do what we're doing right now, right after we're taking a shower, right after we meet with family. This just smells like fun in a bottle. Next up is a fantastic house, Issey Miyake Nuidisi Blue Astral. What's interesting is what inspired this is not necessarily the best time to wear it. So this is inspired by the nighttime, right? Nature, nighttime, and specifically the night sky. Thus it's named Blue Astral. But it's not necessarily a great nighttime fragrance. More than anything, when I smell this, the quality of this is so good. In fact, this puts me in mind a little bit, if you've ever smelled Parfums de Marly's Percival, this is sort of similar to Percival. So it's a niche quality, honestly, niche quality in a designer Issey Miyake. It's pretty common for Issey Miyake, high quality house, niche quality house, but you get the designer price. It's a very fresh, self-aware blue fragrance featuring notes of lime, coriander, leather, amber, and woody notes. So it's a very simplistic scent profile, but the wonderful thing about Issey Miyake's fragrances is how well they are blended. And this is no exception. This is blended so well. In fact, this makes me want to take a shower right now to clean off what I have on me, which I do like what I'm wearing right now. So fresh and so good. Again, very similar to Parfums de Marly's Percival at a quarter of the cost. Blue Astral is inspired by nighttime, not necessarily great for nighttime wear. And the neat thing about this too is it lends itself, so you could actually wear this in formal and informal. And it does have that smell about it where it's that super high quality fragrance. So you don't have that shower gel, you don't have that soap, but you do have that great fresh opening where it's like, it bespeaks new beginnings and fresh starts. And it is heat activated, so you can wear this in the summertime, the spring and summertime heat, knowing that you're going to get a little bit more of that longevity the hotter that it gets, and it will not dissipate. You can also use this in the west side of the United States. It's what they call the dry heat, works really well in dry heat, and also in the deep south and Georgia, Atlanta, Miami, where you get that high, Alabama, you get a little bit more high humidity. Also works well in that high humidity. Next up is probably my most aquatic fragrance here, and that is Nautica Voyage. Now, Nautica is a decent house. They've had a lot of hits and misses. In my estimation, they have more misses than hits, with few exceptions. There's about 3 exceptions that I really like out of the Nautica line. That is Nautica Heritage, Nautica Sport, and Nautica Voyage. Probably predominantly Nautica Voyage. Now this is a very bright, very green, very ozonic, very aqua, very aquatic fragrance. Oh, it smells so good. It smells so green. It features notes such as, you've got apple notes, you've got green leaf notes, you've got some floral notes in the mix there with mimosa and lotus, and resting on a base of amber, cedar, musk, and oak moss. So this is a very aquatic, very fresh blue fragrance. It's going to lend itself for more casual daytime wear. It is heat activated as well, so you can wear it in high heat comfortably, knowing that it's going to exude better projection, a little bit better longevity. This is going to be one of the most economical fragrances in this list, but the quality is really high, and I highly recommend it. Even as a blind buy, if you've never tried it, you will not be let down. It's got a very crowd-pleasing, mass-appealing, compliment-getting profile. And if you haven't, most people have worn this. Not a lot of people are talking about it though. So dust it off if you got it out there, start wearing it again. It's definitely going back in my rotation. Super bright, especially with that apple and the green leaves. Again, very similar in terms of that green, that bright green, as in Lucky You. So good. Can't wait to start using this again. All right, next up, I've saved the best for last, and out of all this list, this is my favorite. It is also the best in terms of longevity, the best in terms of projection. It is an absolute summer banger. And a lot of people are saying, it's just an Aventus clone. I don't think so. I think there are enough, it's dissimilar enough to Aventus, although it does smell like it, admittedly, but it's got it, I think it can stand on its own merits. By now you know what I'm talking about. That is Mont Blanc Explorer. Explorer is such a fantastic fragrance. It smells so good. Yes, it does smell similar to the King Aventus, but it is different enough again to stand on its own. The bottle presentation is great. You've got that Mont Blanc symbol that is very iconic now. The front of it looks like a Canon camera, which the marketing campaign has got a world map and guys traveling everywhere. And what better accoutrement to take with you when you're traveling than a camera? So that lends itself to a pretty neat association there. I do like the bottom of the bottle too, which is cool. It's etched into the glass. You can see the Mont Blanc symbol there. The mountain representing the mountain peak, snow-topped mountain peak. Now this fragrance, again, I cannot spray this on without my wife somewhere in the house going, did you just spray Explorer? Because it has such a great projection. I can literally be in my office here and she'll be in the hallway, and within 5 to 10 minutes of spraying this, she'll know that I've sprayed it because it is so aromatic. It can feel somewhat like a ambroxan chemical bomb, but it doesn't, to me, come off super synthetic. It has a really high quality, like the high quality ingredient, fragrant, aromatic smell. So the ingredients listing is very similar, to a lot of these profiles, and if you smell Aventus, very similar to that. You've got your bergamot in that top there, the super bright bergamot. You've got clary sage, you've got pink pepper, you've got vetiver, patchouli, I think it's some cacao in there, and akigala wood, and some other woods, and of course amber, ambroxan. It is a extremely high quality smelling. That's what I really hit me when I first got this, was just how powerful the smell was and how high of a quality. It's just something you want to smell more and more of. Having said that, you've got to be careful about how you spray this. It does perform super well, and you can be, if you're a little bit over effusive, if you are the kind of person who likes to spray on 5 or 6 or 7 sprays of their favorite fragrance, you're going to choke people out with this because it tends to be really strong, and that stays with it. It doesn't die away in that dry down. The scent profile and the DNA for this is extremely long lasting. So I get a good 10 to 12 hours out of this, and I can even smell it in most cases on my skin the very next day. It does rarely, in rare cases, become a skin scent. It is also heat activated. So going into the heat of the summer is going to make this last even longer. And it is relatively inexpensive now. It is a popular fragrance, but it is relatively inexpensive. All these on this list are. So Mont Blanc Explorer, fantastic, best of the list, best in class. So, all right, guys, that's it for my list. 10 fragrances that are fantastic for spring and summer. The weather's going to be changing, and we need to change how we dress and exactly what we wear. And not only just the kind of clothes we wear, but the kind of fragrances that we wear. So time to clean the dust off your favorite spring and summertime fragrances. And I hope I've given you a few good ideas of fragrances that you might want to run out and get. Any of these I would recommend would be a safe blind buy if you've never tried them before. So if you can think of any others that you would like to add, please do so in the comments below. I always like to hear other people's thoughts and additions to my lists. Thank you so much for your time, and always thank you so much for your support. I'm Tommy with Studio Sense, and I'll see you next time.